You what? Hardline analysis? Film theory? Does that mean I'm going to go back to talking about mascot platformers? Why, yes. Yes, it does. I mean, really, how can I not? I was white enough to own the holy fucking trinity and construct a personal Stonehenge of gaming.
Finally, a game system for me!
I've hobnobbed with all the greats, Crash Bandicoot, Speedo, Louis C. Croc and the Wonder Years, but you know nothing beats a bit of old faggot and spank. Insomniac decided they'd had enough of developing top-draw material and whipped up the game Ratchet and Clank, a platformer borrowing the tag team mechanics of Banjo-Kazooie, only this time focusing on weapons-based combat. The series endured and ended up becoming something of a Sony mainstay, eventually being greenlit for a film, and that, to everybody's fury, is what I'm taking issue with.
As if millions of voices suddenly cried out in terror and were suddenly silenced. I fear something terrible has happened.
But I've got a good reason, just hear me out. You see, while I feel the series has grown, I feel the overall polish and attention-seeking has blunted the effect of the gameplay and weakened the series' appeal to a wider audience. Of fucking course that's the reason. It's me we're talking about here. It was never going to be something simple, now was it? You only have to listen to this sporadically. Mine is a constant pain. So, you know, before I make that deep fucking analysis video on Kirby's Judaism, I'm going to try and show you where I'm going with all of this and see what the original games had to teach us. But you'll have to excuse me, because it's close to the Yuletide Doomsday, and my glass is full. Grab that figgy pudding. We're about to get drunk.
Time to fuck the donuts.
Thank you, Susan. 2001. And marketing mascot is all the rage. What the fuck? 2001, and mascot marketing is all the rage. Nintendo stands on the top of the pile thanks to years of rigorous training and clear communication with its staff. Bill! Fuck! However, the clones follow close behind. Many of these platformers aren't all that different fundamentally, but their gameplay quirks come from the competing designs and concepts used to stand out from the Marios and the Sonics. Against all odds, Ratchet and Clank stands tall against the likes of Gift, Inspector Gadget, and Scalar. Boy, I really want to talk about Scalar. But what was it that made the series so different? Well, I think it's really important to understand how hard these companies were competing against each other, and a lot of it was about presentation rather than content. If you didn't know what you were doing, you were probably some weird thing collecting some species of coin, or saving your girlfriend, or whatever the fuck was supposed to be happening here. I can't be that generous. The results could be hysterical, but the ones that won out were more often than not the games that used top-grade artists who could direct a project with a clear vision that benefited not only the appeal of the game, but the potential of the gameplay. Spyro had been pretty zany, but had a solid overall storybook fantasy vibe between the three games, nothing heavy. Not to mention some of the best visuals and level design in the system at the time. This obviously benefited the Ratchet series, but this time there was a strong theme that tied everything together and made it a stronger product. Ironically, consumerism.
The escape transports are taking all the rich folks off this god-darn planet.
So why aren't you on one?
Socioeconomic disparity.
What?
He hasn't got enough bolts.
This was evident in every element on the table. The plot is about a corrupt politician making a new planet because he overpopulated and polluted his last one. The hero looks up to a commercialized superhero. The cutscenes and plot were often delivered through telemarketing and communication companies. The currency is industrial bolts that are no doubt a commodity in manufacturing the main gameplay draw. The weapons you buy. Sold in a way that asks you to interact with a salesman as the game tries to convince the player what weapon to buy over another. This all meant that the humour had something to come from, aside the usual stock jokes. Man, this just reminds me how short of the mark the Jack series fell thanks to its confused identity. Naughty Dog started out with a strong RPG vibe where you bounce and you get the jiggies and shit, I remember doing that. But after what I can only assume was a really horny meeting, they sort of caved into their most base desires. How sensitive. The second game was propped up by great writing. Seriously, it's ripped straight from Casablanca, just do the comparisons. But by the third game, they'd clearly given up on having it make any sense and the gameplay meandered into a mire of meh. You can see why they moved on. Could have been worse. Could have been about this shiny man.
Oh no!
But that's the point I'm trying to make here, that this wasn't just crazy space rat shoots his way to the end boss. These tidbits changed the experience into something that could be talked about and enjoyed. I'm getting excited about this for no reason. Where the player can buy into the commercial world presented. Granted, it's not talking about the concept of consumerism on the critical level of something like Oddworld, which plays with the concept of using people as the commodities, but the experience is something to grow from and acted as a roadmap for the following games, the sequel in particular, using this to great effect.
Haven't we done enough already?
What?
It made the decision that, this time, the plot would actually hinge on the corporation you buy weapons from, and the game design really benefited from that decision. The new armor you have and the upgrades you get, all courtesy of the new company you're employed by. The villain, industrial espionage agent. The enemies you fight, failed products, assembly line bots, and hired goons, adding a whole new dimension to the worlds you visited. This game added pretty much all of the staples that Insomniac keeps adding to the series without much justification now, and it's probably the best satire the series had to offer.
Chase the adrenaline as contestants face off against our four-armed bandit, the B2 Brawler. Brawler. No living creature is a match for this machine. Watch 6 tons of Carbonox alloy hunt for its prey. There's no consolation prize, cause this bad boy's programmed to show no mercy. So, what are you waiting for? Call now to bring Chainblade and the V2 Brawler into your living room. But put away the fine china.
The environments before had been big cities and facilities, but this time every level was something to do with the company. In some cases, interweaving B-plots you could piece together yourself. An old abandoned shopping centre or a casino offered new ideas beyond Lava World and Ice World, and oh wait, they totally had an Ice World. I was trying to stick up for you, but no, you're on your own. Oh my god, even the platforms are hungry and trying to eat you. And hey, even an abandoned facility from the company in the first game made an appearance as well. So, you know, that's pretty cool. This also features the absolute best plot twist, bringing things full circle. You can tell that I really like this one. Okay. In 2 games, the series had already captured a vibe that flavoured its universe and broadened its audience, but this would also create a pressure that wasn't there before. Yeah, that's the serious part of the documentary. It was a pressure to remain that comedy game series and to uphold a sense of broad expectations. It's in this sense that, shock horror, I actually feel the third game starts to drift from what kept the experience so tight, yo. Bang diggity, what the fuck is happening?
Carry on.
Don't get me wrong, I love me some RNC3. This game kept the satire strong through focusing on pop culture related within this universe. A move into Hollywood, a music video, the public and private perceptions of what makes for a superhero, Ratchet and Clank confronting their feelings of self-worth. It also featured by far the best thing to happen to the series, and something Insomniac would bank on long afterwards.
That's what makes it so good, Janice. Feel it. My heart is pounding like an anvil.
Oh, this is the best part of my day.
So help me, it's true. All aboard for Lonely Town. Choo-choo, Janice. Choo-choo.
Some of the new gameplay modes in 3 expanded on the thematic elements, and there was clearly an attempt on Insomniac's part to broaden their horizons. However, while it certainly streamlined the experience of the second game, the environments and gameplay challenges had a different sense of intuition that felt lacking in comparison. They seemed to hinge more on simply copying the tropes of the sequel rather than growing in the same way as the jump from the first. There were a couple of filler games, we don't need to talk about all of them, but honestly, I really like Dread Zone, and I think that this was the last game that represents what I'm trying to get at here.
This year's contestants include the notorious mafia crime boss known as Ratchet, seen here at his Makhtar estate.
And to think that other networks actually call him a hero.
It's truly sad, Dallas.
As a game, it's definitely meh, and the HD re-release is oh, what the fuck? Okay. But there's some excellent satire and character design for the Creature Box duo going on here that, had this been a bulkier game, would have really boosted the replay value. I like that the competitors, commentary, and network have really strong personalities that turn a pretty tedious series of challenges into a different kind of experience for the series, and the villain is just really on point with the overall theme of the series thus far.
We'll sell Ratchet action figures, Ratchet sports shoes, Ratchet deodorant, Ratchet breakfast cereal, earmuffs and cologne, soft drinks, hard drinks, energy drinks, breath mints. You get record deals, movie rights, reality shows, video games, and commercials.
This has bags of potential, but it was clear that this was the last game making an effort to be true to its original intentions. You see, I feel 3 was the start of a series of bad habits that summarise my issue starting with Tools of Destruction. Bunch of ideas used without the same justification and sloppier writing in order to push the franchise as some kind of big budget movie waiting to happen. The emphasis on a standard movie origin story failed to frame the gameplay as anything other than arbitrary. You have a plot that revolved around the history of the galaxy or Ratchet's past, but nope, we have to have a giant animal hunt and an arena battle, because, you know, that was in the second game. Never mind that the second game was playing on these being fringe benefits or hazards from the company controlling the plot. Nope, just do this task on this planet, because, you know, rinse, repeat, it's slowly in space. Pirates are still funny, right? And well, they are. Small people are stupid, maybe goofy, maybe menacing, maybe Spyro reference, right? The Chosen One is still an interesting story, right? No! None of this. I can't even begin to snark at this shit. That's awful. GrummelNet can stay though, that's a cool idea. So GrummelNet was this idea that the salesman is actually this guy whose entire race was blown up by the villain from the first game, so he was like, ah shit, that's really bad. So he cloned himself and then just started an empire of clones, and they're the salesman, and they're in the ball, and that's really cool, and none of you care. I should be fair to an extent. Tools of Destruction under its limp design had something of a challenge to offer in its difficulty. Then there's A Crack in Time, not only the last game in the series to not be a spin-off, but also the last game to really try and shake up the experience. And to its credit, there's a lot to enjoy. The story means that Ratchet and Clank are finally separated, leading to 2 different gameplay styles, one based on time travel puzzles, the other on a stronger sense of weapon customization. But because the thin narratives were the overall features Insomniac was pushing, it meant that the levels pandered solely to that campaign. This meant that there was less to enjoy about each world individually, and less of a need to go back to the worlds and the games in general. Made for some cool visuals and fun shooting, but left all the new mechanics feeling a little bit lost. The same could be said of Nexus, which again gets a badge for trying some cool ideas. And you know, you could feel their hearts really weren't in the particular narrative they were doing in the same way anymore. Nobody releases this DLC and passes it off as a full sequel with a clear-cut plan. Nobody makes a bunch of sequels that actively try to retcon issues made important by Tools of Destruction without being somewhat unconvinced by that title. This series was suffering because while it had started out as a satire on consumerism, it had become a franchise seeking the same status as its satire. Is that profound? Probably not. Like most games, Ratchet and Clank had become a franchise that really just wanted to be a movie instead. Fuck it, that's what the entire gaming industry wants to be, but you know, you didn't hear that from me. Tools of Destruction onwards advertised themselves really heavily on the story that would supposedly shed light on Ratchet's past, the gameplay being more of the same or something visually stunning rather than something that really enhanced the active experience. You know, the world shrank as did their populations. The characters referenced their history with each other as nods to the fans rather than building from the existing dynamics on offer. In fact, there's a lot of weird over-reliance in the last couple games on continuity rather than an actual sense of that continuity's context. Sure, you can bring back an NPC nobody cared about and make him a bad guy, but when you make him just spew out dialogue from the Big Bang Theory, then you're not trying, you're just enacting a torture that's relevant in 16 states.
You're nothing but one big epic fail!
I'd like to say that the reboot puts things back on track, and I've got to be honest, the gameplay's looking pretty solid in those trailers. Insomniac said they rehired a whole bunch of older developers from the franchise's past, so it is possible that this is where they've been focusing their attention the last couple years. But a part of me wonders how much this game will get by on the genes of the original. The movie certainly seems somewhat bland, accounting for the fact that all animated trailers tend to be bland now. And my worry is that the series will simply continue to miss the potential it's capable of in treating its gameplay and storytelling as separate entities. Will the narrative feel tacked on, or will it really feed into the experience in the way the first game managed so well? Yeah, probably not. Gosh, I don't know. I don't know. Granted, this series doesn't play on my mind nearly as much as a certain series these days.
Fucking punch the shit out of that vagina right now! With my penis! Ah! Metal Gear!
But I feel like it's a genuine issue. We're very quick to accept anything new to do with platforming for the sake of nostalgia, and I'd really like to see 3D platforming continue to grow and try new things, rather than come back as some kind of hackneyed attempt at cashing in on our past. I mean, seriously, Rextro 64 us. No! But when all's said and done, it does seem right that these two have remained in the gaming public eye. Already one reboot down the line, but not necessarily at the expense of its lead characters. One thing Insomniac seems to understand is that certain things don't need much fixing. Could also be to do with what happened on Fuse, which Hyperbit Hero made a very good video about here, but you know, just baseless speculation that seems very accurate. Maybe they're a bit more lax than they used to be. Maybe their dynamic is in need of some refining. But since they started, they were the outsiders to this crazy world of noise and self-obsession, and that hasn't changed much. They looked out for each other and steered people in the right direction. They rightly made a decision on their past being unimportant and their futures vital. And I'm sure that if Sony has any sense, they'll continue to cash in on that long after Insomniac has changed and the new fans have grown up.
All right, Lawrence, you can turn it off now.
Oh, may I, sir? What a treat.